You're watching the press preview, a first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. It's time to see what's making the headlines with economist Carole Malone and the political editor of the Liverpool Echo, Thorp. They'll be with us from now until just before midnight. So let's see what's on some of those front pages for you now. Responding to Prince Andrew losing his military status, royal patronages and HRH title, the Metro splash is thrown out. The Sun has the same headline, pointing out that the Duke of York is now a private citizen. The Telegraph describes him as having been frozen out by his mother, the Queen. The Duke of York's change in status is also the lead story for The Guardian. The Times believes he will feel humiliated. And The Express suggests the decision was taken for the sake of the monarchy. Meanwhile, the Press and Journal focuses on Tory infighting after senior Westminster Conservatives disparaged the party's Scottish leader, Douglas Ross, for insisting the Prime Minister should resign, having attended a party in the Downing Street garden during lockdown. And the Financial Times reports that talks between the US and Russia over Ukraine remain unresolved. And you can check out the front pages of tomorrow's newspapers as they come in by scanning the QR code on your screen right now. And we're joined tonight by Carole Malone and Liam Thorp. Welcome to you both. Good evening. Let's start with the front page of the Metro, and just two words. Everybody will know what this headline alludes to. Thrown out. Carole.
Yeah, this is when Andrew's court case was thrown out this week, when it was deemed that he would have to go to court. The Queen and the monarchy had to take action, and today they did, and it was pretty decisive action. He's been stripped of his honorary and military roles. He won't lose the title of HRH, but he's not going to be allowed to use it, which is just as much. This is a massive humiliation for him. It's in recent years, Andrew hasn't done much with his life, hasn't had much going on in his life apart from this. And to take away his titles now is going to be devastating for him. One wonders what he's going to do with the rest of his life. But frankly, I don't really care that much about him. What I'm kind of incredulous about, that this has happened in the year of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. This should have been her year. This should have been the year that she celebrated joyously 70 years on the throne. It's 9 months after her husband's death. This should have been a year to celebrate her. And now we're going to be distracted by this. And it's, I can't imagine how hard this must have been for the Queen. Can't begin to imagine. I don't suppose she took the decision alone. In fact, I suspect it was probably Prince Charles who took the final decision, because he's going to be the next person to take over, and it's his job to protect the monarchy as it is the Queen's. If there's any comfort for the Queen tonight, it's that, social media, everyone is saying that it was the right decision, how proud they are of her, how yet again this grand lady has put duty and the monarchy above personal stuff, above her family, even above her favourite son, and that Andrew has always been rumoured to be her favourite son. This must have been unutterably hard for her.
And Liam, from what we read, senior members of the royal family have deliberated over this to arrive at this decision. So tonight, Prince Andrew is a private citizen, and he will go forth and fight this civil case as such.
Yeah, like anyone else would have to who was in that position. He can't hide behind those titles or the family anymore. He's got to face up to those very, very serious allegations, and it looks like that's going to be heard in court. As Carole says, this announcement came just a day after that court in New York made that decision that the case can go ahead, and that's not a coincidence. It's swift and pretty brutal and action from the Queen, and as Carole says, completely humiliating for him. As you say, I think there was discussions between Prince Charles and possibly Prince William yesterday, and then, as we understand it, a quite brief, curt 45-minute chat between the Queen and Prince Andrew today, where that was clear. And the statement says it's been done in agreement. I think we all know that's not true. There's no way he would have wanted to agree to this, but it had to be done. And now he's a private citizen who, like anyone else faced with allegations, has to go and face justice.
Yes, and the stripping of the military roles is something, as you suggest, will be particularly galling to him. But we know that there was some pressure from within the military that this should be the case, Carole.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it's the Grenadiers. I think they're delighted to be shot at him. They don't want to be tarnished with what's happening to him, you know. And it's incredible. It's hard to say what's going to happen here because if he settles, that's kind of if he settles, and the rumours are that if he does, he'll be looking at 10 million quid to Virginia Roberts, as we now know her. A lot of money. He's actually selling his chalet in Switzerland to try and pay for that. But if he settles, that's a kind of admission of guilt, I guess. Victoria Roberts is saying currently she doesn't want to settle, that the rumours are that she wants her day in court, but I can't see her not settling. 99 out of 100 cases in civil courts in the US are settled. And I think what all this rhetoric is about upping the ante, it's about getting the biggest settlement that she possibly can. But, you know, the problem with settling is going to be that a lot of other girls might come forward, girls who they say were trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein and who may have been involved with. So this kind of, whatever happens here, whether he goes to court or whether he settles, it's not going to be over anytime soon.
No, his life has changed forever, hasn't it, Liam?
Yeah, as Carole says, this is it's apart from trying to defend himself, I guess it's hard to know what he does. It's a completely different life to the one that he has led. The interesting thing, I think, is he's repeatedly denied these allegations, and a lot of people have said, well, if you are being continually levied with these allegations, wouldn't you want to go and clear your name and defend yourself? But his legal team have done everything they possibly can to avoid that day in court, but it hasn't been enough, and it looks like that's either going to happen or, as Carole says, there'll be a settlement, but yes. It's definitely not going his way.
I just want to get to the Telegraph to fit this in before the break, Carole. And this is news of 2 more Downing Street parties.
Yeah, breaking story tonight by a political correspondent on the Telegraph called Tony Diver. It's saying that number 10 held 2 boozy parties the night before the Queen mourned for Prince Philip on her own. At the time, the rule stated that you couldn't socialise indoors except with your household or in a support bubble. And here we go again. It's incredible. Boris was things were settling. I'm not saying that he was out of the woods, because he certainly isn't and won't be. But I mean, this here is yet another thing. I don't know whether this is going to be the killer blow. We don't know whether he was there. We know there were 2 parties where staff drank and danced until the early hours. One was it was the leaving party of one of his comms bosses, a guy called James Slack, who had been there who had been in the job for 2 previous Tory prime ministers, and one was for one of Boris's personal photographers. But these parties were happening while Prince Philip was lying in the church at Windsor Castle. And no one will forget the picture of the Queen the next day, sitting alone in church, socially distanced from her entire family. And here we have more parties in Downing Street. I mean, this is catastrophic for the government. I can't even believe the Telegraph haven't led on it, actually. It's halfway down the page.
Yeah,
this is catastrophic.
It is on the front page. Carole, we're going to have to stop there just because of time, because we've got to go to break. But just to reiterate on the stories to do with Prince Andrew, we must absolutely reiterate that he strenuously denies all allegations.